The accused Buffalo gunman appearing in court today under heavy security, handcuffed in an orange jumpsuit. He has now been indicted by a grand jury for Saturday's grocery store shooting that left 10 victims dead. He was already charged Saturday with first-degree murder, to which he has pleaded not guilty. Other charges are expected to be filed, including potential hate crime charges, which would allege the killings were racially motivated. As he is taken out of the courtroom, an onlooker calls him a coward.
Hey, you're a coward!
He is being held without bail and faces up to life in prison if convicted. Security at the court was tight, with police dogs and heavily armed officers, and the suspect was brought in by tunnel. The suspect claimed in a diatribe posted online that he got one of the guns, a Savage rifle, from his father for Christmas in 2020. A Savage box can be seen in this family photo posted on Facebook. A Savage rifle was not used in the Tops shooting, but one was found in the suspect's car. The hateful rant said the gunman planned to use the Savage rifle, along with a shotgun, to kill more black people in the neighborhood as he drove away from the Tops supermarket. The investigation at the crime scene is finished, but the FBI says the probe continues.
There are interviews to be done. There are information and data to be gathered from social media and other internet companies. There are analyses that need to be done on the evidence that was collected.
Taking them home.
Jeffrey Peace is an administrator at the State Tabernacle Church. He was a fellow deacon there with deceased shooting victim Hayward Patterson for several years. I asked Peace about how the man who was so loved and trusted in the church community would have responded to his killer. The gunman was clearly full of hatred. Do you think that Deacon Patterson might forgive this man if he were able to?
The Bible tells us to forgive. You know, it tells us to forgive. I can't speak. He's gone. He's gone. But if surviving, yes. I would say yes. I would have to say yes. And we're going to have to forgive the gunman because we're here.
The son of another victim, grocery store security guard Aaron Salter Jr., saying he surely saved the lives of others.
He went out because he was trying to protect everyone. He made Tops his priority. Even though he was retired, he cared about Tops. He cared about the people who came in there every day. He cared about the employees, and it was his duty to keep everyone safe, and he went out doing that.
John Persons, the president and COO of Tops Markets, told us they do plan to reopen this store, but he could not offer a timeline on exactly when. Jake?
Brian Todd in Buffalo, New York for us. Thank you so much. Joining us now is Carrie Cordero. She's the former counsel to the Assistant Attorney General. Carrie, thanks so much for being here. So New York has a red flag law which bars individuals who are believed to be a risk to society and adjudicated as such by a judge, or at least assessed as such by a judge, from owning a gun. Now, the accused wrote an essay in high school about staging a murder-suicide. He was asked about it by police who had been alerted to it, yet neither the police, nor the teachers, nor the faculty, nor his parents let a judge know using the red flag law. It seems obvious in retrospect that they should have, but these laws are underutilized.
So they're underutilized, and they're also, some of them, relatively new, Jake. So in New York, this law has existed for a few years. In other states, it's been just a couple years. And so on one hand, when we look back at it, there's so many tragic aspects of this particular event. One of them is that there were so many warning signs that this individual exhibited, and he came to the attention of all the authorities that you would want someone like this to come to the attention to. So it may be that there is just a much greater need for more training and awareness, whether that's for police, whether that's for school officials, whether that's for people in the community, parents, family members, to understand how to use these laws if they need to.
Now, the Buffalo suspect has been charged in New York with first-degree murder, one count that covers 2 or more murders. The grand jury is expected, of course, I'm guessing, to bring more charges. What might those be?
So at first, right, so they're going to bring charges just to be able to make sure that this individual stays in custody, so they could bring additional charges at the state level for the additional murders that this individual has committed. There also could be at the state level an additional look at hate crime charges at the state level. And then the whole next layer that I expect we will see, Jake, is charges at the federal level, which I would imagine the Justice Department is currently looking at as it relates specifically to federal hate crimes.
So last night, the House of Representatives passed a bill that is aimed at combating domestic terrorism. The bill would set up offices in the Department of Homeland Security to focus on domestic terror. It would call for the assessment of the threat posed by white supremacists. Now, just to be clear, what happened in Buffalo, it's horrific, but it doesn't appear to have been the act of a group. It appears to have been the act of one deranged racist. Would this law have had any impact? Would it have prevented this tragedy?
I think it's hard to say, Jake, that this particular law, if it were enacted, would actually prevent this act. It'll increase, if the law ends up becoming a law, if the Senate passes it, it'll end up increasing information sharing. It'll fund and make sure that there is better resourcing and attention and congressional oversight of all these different components of government, DHS, FBI, Justice Department, who already have people in offices that are dedicated to these issues anyway. I think the law will help Congress do better oversight over this issue. But look, the key point that I think the country is still digesting, and that the government organizations and agencies that are in charge of this need to do a better job digesting, is at this point, these types of acts, although they are conducted by an individual who is inspired by this radical extremist ideology, this is part of a bigger pattern. And so if we look at the mass shootings, the mass murders that have occurred across the country, whether it was Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, whether it was the El Paso shooting, whether it was the Charleston church shooting, or whether now it is this one in Buffalo, they are all ethnically, religiously, or racially motivated. And this is because this is an extremist ideology that is pervading the country and also in other parts of the world. So what Congress is doing is trying to bring greater attention to that bigger issue.